our fans have been asking about Joliet for years. It feels like a great place to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country.
All right, everybody, buckle up because we have a very good friend of the show. The man has many titles over there at NASCAR, but essentially he is the schedule guru among many other things. But this guy is leading the charge for NASCAR, bringing us to new markets, making a lot of awesome stuff happen. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Ben Kennedy. How's it going?
Guys.
How's it going, buddy?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just hanging out. We're happy we get to talk to important people such as yourself. So thanks for making time for us.
Absolutely. Happy to be on. Happy to finally be talking about the 2026 schedule.
I'm sure you're probably more happy that it's just like you don't have when I picture you trying to juggle 36 different balls at the same time. I feel like in your office you must have like these little pins with red strings in different parts of the map trying to figure it all out. How much work and stress goes into the week of now announcing this thing, but obviously it's years building up to this point. How do you feel at the moment now that it's out?
It's great. It's a total team effort, and I know I'm the one that gets to jump on here and talk with you guys, but Jason Hamilton and the entire team has been working on this schedule for probably 13 or 14 months now at least, and it's come together with a lot of collaboration, a lot of conversations that we have to have across many stakeholders to develop the schedule. But proud of the work that we've done. We've got a lot to talk about in it. A lot of storylines I've already announced, whether that be San Diego, new championship race, Homestead-Miami Speedway, which is going to be fun to watch. Obviously, our biggest event of the year, Daytona 500, kicking off the season, President's Day weekend, returning to the Clash, and then some new nuggets that we have in there as well. So, Chicagoland coming back as a points race, North Wilkesboro as a points race, new All-Star race at Dover, a lot of new storylines throughout the season to give fans, frankly, something that they can look forward to and something to get excited about. So we're glad, and it kind of feels like a little bit of a weight off the shoulders now, and then we can focus on the rest of the season.
There's so many cool little nuggets like you mentioned that I wanted to talk about. First up, the San Diego. So first, kudos to NASCAR and their social team on that awesome unveil. Like whatever movie type of shoot that was awesome to unveil that event. I know you guys have been out there multiple times. I know like Michael Verlotti from the Experiences have gone out and like a ton of effort, if not as much as the Chicago Street Race, maybe more so, going to lean into that San Diego event. Just tell the fans a little bit what to expect in terms of activation, parking, like what's it going to look like racing on a naval base?
It's a good question. We're gonna find out in June of next year. But it was a really cool announcement, and a ton of credit to the people that worked on that. I was frankly surprised because we had probably over 150 people that were involved in that shoot. That happened a week and a half prior to the announcement, and somehow we were able to keep it under wraps until 2 or 3 days before that it ended up leaking. But the content was fantastic, and appreciate the drivers coming out and being a part of that. But look, it's going to be the most anticipated event of next year's schedule. 250th anniversary of the Navy, 250th anniversary of our country, and right now we're in the throes of working on what is the track going to look like. So it's about a 3-mile circuit. We partnered up with iRacing on this as we have around LA and Chicago and a couple of other concepts. So they have the entire track designed out and mapped out in a couple different variations. We've had a few drivers get on it and provide us feedback. But essentially, what fans can expect around a 3-mile course, a lot of turns, some long, fast straightaways, some sharper, more technical sections, a couple chicanes in there, and then we're going to find unique ways to lean into the location too. So you're going to have parts that will be on the San Diego Bay side where you have the backdrop of all of downtown San Diego. Might have a couple of carriers out there, and then there'll be a really cool tarmac section where they'll be weaving their way through F-18s and Ospreys and all sorts of equipment that the Navy's going to bring out there. So optics of it are going to be incredible.
So how did you come up with this? Like, where did this all come from? When did you start first think of it? How did it come to fruition?
So this started as a concept that someone on the scheduling team had 4 or 5 years ago, to be honest. And two people here in Daytona actually came up with the idea of racing on a military base at first, and then over time, I don't want to say that we put it on the shelf. We had some conversations, but we were focused on LA, we're focused on Chicago. And then, we put a team together that was kind of tangential to the schedule group to start to evaluate the Southern California market, as we're trying to decide what the future of Fontana looks like. And we went around for a couple of days. We just got in a car. We drove to probably a dozen different sites between Los Angeles and San Diego. And this was one of the final sites that we went to. We didn't actually go on the base. We were across the base from the bay, and we looked at it and we said, this is an absolute home run for us. I mean, being in the Southern California market, San Diego, you're not far from downtown San Diego or the airport, and then being on a military base, it checked every single box that we could imagine at that point. And then we started talking with the folks on the base, the captain, the entire team that they have out there, and one thing led to another, and the partnership with them has been tremendous. A really good group of people, and I know they're going to make it into something really special for our sport, but special for the Navy, special for the military, and something that can be celebrated in our country. And I think all of that coming together, in and around the summer of next year and a couple weeks before July 4th is going to be really neat to see.
It's gonna be sick. And you talk about checking boxes. San Diego does that for multiple reasons. An interesting box that you guys check with the truck schedule is a little bit of an Indy collaboration. It's St. Pete. What sort of conversations go on with, like, hey, we want to be here? Does Indy does the Penske Entertainment Group approach you? Like, what is sort of those conversations to say, hey, we're going to keep our truck guys around here for another week in Florida, and we're going to do a little bit of, collaboration with the IndyCar here?
Yeah, it was a cool concept that came together. So we have a good relationship with Green Savoree, who has they put on the Mid-Ohio race before the Portland event for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and they're going to be putting on the St. Pete race. So they put it on for IndyCar, and we had a couple conversations with them, IndyCar as well. And we said, hey, is there a way that we could bring the Craftsman Truck Series out to St. Pete for its first ever street course in the series history? And seeing that they were also going to go to San Diego in the June of next year, we felt like it'd be a good opportunity for them to get their feet wet. Obviously in an iconic street race in America, going to St. Pete, but also get their feet wet before we go to San Diego for the 3-wide weekend in June. So I'm looking forward to seeing that weekend. Honestly, I'm in Daytona, so I might have to get in the car and travel over there that weekend and join them for it.
So what's harder, building a course on a base or resurrecting a track like Chicagoland?
Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to go with the military base. Military base is a little more unique. We're more used to bringing tracks back to life like we're gonna do in Chicagoland, but stoked for that one as well. Our fans have been asking about Juliet for years, and if you look at the racing product that we've had, especially on the 1.5 mile tracks, it's been really strong with the next gen car, and our fans have been asking to return to Chicagoland. So yes, we're gonna have to make some improvements to it. We'll have to dust off the seats and put a fresh coat of paint on it. The great news is we've been out there a few times, and the place looks very similar to what it did in 2019. So we're gonna make some renovations to it, gonna make a couple of enhancements and improvements to it. And then, honestly, I couldn't think of a better place to be on July 4th weekend. Being in the Midwest, the heartland of America, huge camping crowd that we're gonna have out there. It feels like a great place to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country.
It's going to be awesome. So that race, like you said, is July 5th. So July 4th on Saturday night, 250-year anniversary of the great United States of America. You talk about knocking the dust off, right? Knocking the dust off of Chicagoland. knocked the dust off of North Wilkesboro. Now it's revived it to the point where now SMI is going to put a points race there, moving the All-Star race to Dover. But before we get too much into that, I'm curious on like the investment that you guys made into the temporary structures, the catch fence, the walls, safer barriers at LA. You've got to also know that sort of equipment and ability to put a racetrack anywhere in the country is going to always somewhat be available, because now you guys have a lot of data and the ability to do that. Do you use some of that parts and pieces from LA, from the build there, to go to San Diego? Do you potentially look at exhibition markets? Because I'm sure there's still a lot of markets you guys want to get to. Denver, Pacific Northwest, places like that are hungry for our sport. What's the future potential markets you want to go to?
Yeah, we talked about the Pacific Northwest a lot. Would love to find a home up there. Everyone talks about the Smile States. So, all the way from the Northeast, across Texas. Obviously, we have Phoenix and Vegas checked off, Southern California. But we're kind of missing the other side of the smile and getting up the Pacific Northwest. So would love to be up there. We've talked about potentially being in New York at some point in the future. I think there's a couple of good opportunities in the New York, New Jersey area that we've explored. But those are probably the biggest ones. We've also spoken a little bit about Colorado. Maybe the Denver area would be cool to be able to bring an event out there. But I think for us, it's we've learned so much in Chicago the past couple of years. It was a pretty significant investment as you think about the walls, the fencing, the grandstand suites, hospitality areas. It isn't inexpensive to build a temporary course at all. But the value that comes out of it strategically for being in a market like downtown Chicago and like we're going to have in San Diego and the Southern California market strategically adds a ton of value to the sport overall. And that's what we're really trying to do. So would love to add a couple, one or two others potentially on the schedule in the future. But, I think as we think about the schedule in totality, it's great for us to have this variation, right, between kind of your old school traditional events, like I would say a North Wilkesboro as an example of that, your marquee kind of milestone moments like the Daytona 500, and then something that's bold and fresh and new
Bowman
in
Gray.
a lot of these larger metro markets. So it's a good blend.
Yeah.
You think you're trying to advocate for Bowman Gray as a points race?
No. I'm just well, I don't like. Unfortunately, on social media, NASCAR is getting a lot of flack for I think unwarranted, because you guys are gambling and making bold, to your point, bold strategies to set the sport up for the next 10 years, for the next 15 years, investing hundreds of millions of dollars over a decade, and I think a lot of that's not noticed or not appreciated, because I don't want to get into my theory on that, but you talk. I mean, breathing life into some of these racetracks, Chicagoland, Bowman Gray was why I brought that up, right? You guys, that's a crown. Yeah.
I got a question. So you say Chicagoland's like still in pretty good shape. The weather up there kind of preserves that, but now you're bringing your championship race back to Homestead. The South Florida weather is not as kind as it is in Chicago. So what kind of upgrades have you had to do to Homestead to better outfit it for that championship race coming back?
We have quite a list of things that we want to do, and we want to make improvements to the track. Everyone remembers what Homestead was like in 2019 when we brought the championship race down there. And if you just take the location, being in the Homestead-Miami region in November, that time of year, weather is fantastic. It feels like a championship-worthy market. But the facility has gotten a little bit tired over the past few years. So we're working on plans to make improvements to it, everything from a fresh coat of paint everywhere, some new branding, to enhancing a few areas of the fan experience, some hospitality areas. We're going to focus on the infield as well. You think about the area between the Cup and the O'Reilly garage. I think a really good opportunity to enhance a fan experience and kind of open that up a little bit. So we have a team that's been working with Guillermo, the track president, in Homestead for the past couple of months on putting together an improvement plan for the facility. I've seen a couple drafts of it. We actually have a 9:00 call tomorrow morning that we're going to jump on to talk about it. So we want to make some improvements to it, and importantly, when the industry and our fans come into Homestead in November of next year, they need to feel like it is a championship facility, and we're going to do exactly that.
Man, I'm excited about that because you mentioned it. Championship weekend at Homestead it hits different.
I mean, but Phoenix, dude, the track is amazing, right? And it's
really
packed.
is.
And hey, I want to ask you a question because we talk about it a lot on here. Tracks with one date, like we're big fans of that. Richmond this weekend, I think, was a product of that. It was electric all weekend long. What's the balance like for you for trying to figure that out and bring in new markets? But like, it's got to be hard conversations around that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a balance for sure, and I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be perfect for everyone. We'd love for it to be, but you have a lot of stakeholders at the table and a lot of people that have a voice and opinion on how we're building this out the schedule. So, broadcast will have thoughts, our fans will have thoughts, the teams will have thoughts, and I think for us, it's a matter of how do we collect as much feedback and as much data as we possibly can, and then make the best informed decisions. And you've seen that over the past 6 years since we put the scheduling team together. We've made some decisions that have worked really well, and we've made some decisions that have been a little bit of a challenge that we've gone back on. So, think of things like Iowa and Richmond on Saturday night as an example. Packed houses at Iowa and another packed house at Richmond that we had this past weekend. Those are really good things for the sport. And you're going to have other facilities that might, through this ripple effect, have impacts as it relates to some of our dates. And I think for us, it's thinking about how do we find a way, even though it may not be on that same weekend, they might move a couple weeks or a couple months. How do we find ways to make those weekends feel special in that part of the year? So if it could be perfect for everyone, we probably have quadruple headers on the same weekend, and it just wouldn't play out all that well, but we try to do the best that we can to balance everyone's thoughts and feedback.
I think as many players and stakeholders, people who have valuable opinions on the way the schedule should look and time of the year and all the things that factor into it. SMI certainly has a large number of races on schedule. I mean, for a long time, it seems like, just from the outside looking in, the working relationship between Speedway Motors and NASCAR seems to be really strong this year. One of the notable changes on their end is the All-Star race going to Dover. I'm a little bit confused as to why that is, honestly. I'm curious on Marcus and SMI's group of moving, be a triple header there, Trucks Xfinity, All-Star Race Cup. The future of the All-Star race in general probably can have some conversation about it, but what was the conversation like when those guys probably approached you with this idea?
Yeah, I would say, the catalyst, if you think about the first domino to fall, was how do we find a way to turn North Wilkesboro into a points race? So we gathered a lot of feedback from our fans. 70% of them said we would love to see a points race at North Wilkesboro. We heard from our industry, Dale Jr. being in the booth for TNT's portion of the season. It was just a natural home for North Wilkesboro to fall into July. So that's the first domino to fall. The next domino is, okay, well, where are we going to have the All-Star race? So we looked at a number of different options, obviously collaborated with Fox on this, with Speedway Motorsports, and, ended up landing in Dover. And, I think as you think about Dover as an All-Star location, first of all, it's the first time we'll ever have the All-Star race at Dover. First time on a 1 mile track, and then the first time in the Northeast as well. And if you look at our fan bases and the strength of it, frankly, in the Northeast, whether it's Pocono, New Hampshire is going to look really good in about a month when we go up there. And then Dover has been really strong, and it's been really strong in May. In July, I know, Corey, you guys were probably out there. It was hot this year. Hot, and then you have the afternoon storms that came in. So from a timing perspective, we felt like weather will be a little bit better in May. And then, just the ability for us to shake things up a little bit, move it to a new location. We had the All-Star race, obviously, at Charlotte for decades. It went to Texas. It went to Bristol. It's been at North Wilkesboro for a few years. Felt like 2026 was a good opportunity for us to bring it somewhere new, bring it to Dover, where the weather is great and, that time of year, and then, deliver something a little bit different for our fans up in the Northeast.
So, obviously, we're sitting here talking a lot about the schedule out this week, probably the biggest news. I think another common misconception from the fans not understanding the intention of what the overall direction that NASCAR wants to go. It gives the fan the best racing possible. And that's not to say that there aren't constant tweaks and constant CFD runs done by the R&D center down there in Concord to try to continue to refine this car and to provide better aero position. So what does those conversations coincide with potential to maybe change aerodynamics at places like Dover, or certain tweaks that you guys are looking at moving forward? Because it's not like you guys are sitting on your hands. You want to continue to deliver the best product you guys have available.
Yeah, we do for sure. I'm not, super close to the R&D department or the competition guys, but I know they're looking at all the data that's coming in every single race, and we have data from loop data, obviously all of the tracking data, the car tracking data that we have around the tracks, the amount of passes that we have for the lead, the passes through the field, the delta between first and second, and then we collect a lot of fan data from our fan council every single week, and we look at the social sentiment as well. And they're constantly looking at what changes or tweaks could you potentially make to the car or the formats or the schedule in the future. And it's going to be a balance at the end of the day, right? Because you can make a wide swath of changes pretty quickly. Obviously, that comes with costs and other considerations that you need to factor in when you make those changes. So I think the biggest thing for them is, and it's very similar to us as we think about the schedule, is we want to make changes, but we want to be very thoughtful about it. We want to be very calculated about it, and then make it when the timing is right. So I know they're constantly thinking about it Monday through Sunday, every single week, and always gathering feedback from the industry on how it can be the best racing in the world.
Love that. I want to circle back real quick to Dover and the All-Star race. So I remember like the Humpy Wheeler days, and then this year there was a little bit of like pageantry with Waltrip going up there dropping the flag. How much rope do you give like Marcus and them? Because I just think about like Humpy back in the day and the stuff he used to do. Like, how much rope do you give them to be like, here, you guys have the All-Star race, since it's not a points race, to like freedom to do what they want to do, and how much do you kind of have your hands on that as well?
Yeah, we usually we'll set the format of it, and this is just my own personal belief. I believe the simpler the better. Whether you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan or a new fan, and it's similar to the formats that we've created for the Clash. We have a ton of new fans that came to Clash in LA, and even Bowman Gray for that matter. And fans want to come in. They don't want to be confused by who's making it to the main event, who can qualify, who cannot qualify. So I'm always an advocate of make it as simple as possible, especially for the new people that are coming or tuning into those events. So we'll usually start with it a little bit with that framework, and then it is collaboration. It's collaboration with Fox. It'll be collaboration with Speedway Motorsports. They'll have feedback over the format, over maybe a competitor caution that we want to throw into the race, and then we'll set it a few weeks in advance. So usually pretty similar year to year is that we'll kind of kick things off, collaborate with them, and then put the format together. But certainly another kind of just thoughtful process that we'll try to put together. But I'd say the most important part of it is making sure it's something that resonates for our fans and something that they're going to be entertained by and enjoy.
We've only got you for a couple more minutes there, so I wanted to ask you about this. One of the noticeable things that I have on the schedule that sticks out is we're swapping Mexico for San Diego, right? So no international races on the schedule. I know that it's your desire to bring NASCAR international, different countries, whether it's Canada, it's been talked about often. Mexico, Brazil is under NASCAR's banner as well with the NASCAR Brazil series, which is awesome, by the way. So many cool tracks out there in the world, but the logistically is a headache. So is it off the table for certain foreseeable amount of time, or is there like some international races that are kind of on the docket here that we're lining up for the next couple of years?
I mean, we've said this in the past, to your point, Corey, and would love to continue to do it, is, I think having one or two international races would be good for us and good for our sport. And Mexico was that, right? We had a ton of new fans come out to that event. We collected a lot of feedback from them. It was overwhelmingly positive and overwhelmingly hey, we'd love to see the Cup Series come back, and if so, we'll bring our friends and family along. To your point, there are a lot of logistical considerations that you have in taking an event like our Cup Series and our O'Reilly Series down to Mexico. And it was a long distance from certainly Michigan to Laredo, Texas, and then Laredo, Texas to Mexico City, and then back up to Charlotte the next week. So, a lot of work went into all of the plans that went into not only the hauler movement, but the entire teams and drivers that were all flying in and out of there. But if you think about what it did for our sport, for us, it was more than a race. It was an opportunity for us to bring our sport into a market with the biggest teams, the biggest drivers, the biggest operating channels that we have, and deliver it to a market like we've never done before. So we learned so many great things through that. Some things that have been really positive for us. And if we went back to Mexico, some changes we would make. And, we said this on the weekend, and I still believe it to be true. I mean, we'd love to be back in Mexico at some point in the future. Didn't work out in 26. Obviously, you have World Cup. There's only a handful of dates that are available at that facility. We'd love to come back at some point in the future. And then we've had conversations north of the border as well, whether that's Toronto or Montreal or, wherever that is, it remains to be seen. And if it does happen, but I think there could be another opportunity for us to bring the Cup Series north of the border at some point in the future too.
Well, I appreciate all that information you gave us, breaking down what the 2026 NASCAR Cup and O'Reilly and Truck Series schedule is going to look like. And I can tell you one thing: I feel good about the direction of the sport with the leadership that we have at the helm. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Ben Kennedy.
Thank you, guys. Always enjoy the time with y'all.
Open invitation. Would love to have you come in here, hang out, and drink cold one.
Cool. I'll bring one of my helmets you can put on the wall behind you there too.
We got a couple hooks here for you.
Perfect. I like it.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Have a good day. Good
Thank
job.
You guys.